Joining us now, former foreign policy advisor under Margaret Thatcher and director of the Heritage Foundation's Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom. And in studio, Nile Gardiner. Now, great having you in studio.
My pleasure.
It's always great having you on anyway. The escalating provocations from Iran, what are they trying to achieve here?
Well, I think that you'll see increasing saber rattling from the Iranian regime. They're trying to intimidate. They're trying to flex some muscle. This is a brutal dictatorship that acts often very recklessly.
Who's their audience, though? Now, who are they trying to project this to? I mean, we're not intimidated by them, so what would be their end game with these increasing attacks?
Yeah, I mean, clearly the United States is not going to be intimidated. I think that this is a warning, certainly to America's allies in the region, and especially in the Gulf states. Certainly, I think that Iran's strategy is to try and divide the alliance that is confronting Iran. Iran is also, I think, the Iranian regime is trying to stir up nationalist sentiment domestically against the United States. But I think that what you are seeing increasingly across Iranian cities, growing unrest, growing opposition to the Iranian regime, the sanctions are biting very hard. And the US strategy of maximum pressure is really bringing the Iranian economy to its knees. And this is stirring up, I think, growing public unease, actually, with the basically dictatorship in Tehran. And so the Iranian regime is basically firing off a few missiles here and there, shooting down drones, etc., in order to deflect away, I think, from the economic problems at large.
Nile, under the Obama administration, the Iranians were much more quiet. We had that nuclear deal, and everything was just chugging along. This is sort of President Trump's stance and change in position here has brought some of this conflict up. But how do you manage these antics, these outbursts in the face of military conflict, if the Iranians keep escalating?
Yeah, I think you have to respond with real strength. And unlike the Obama administration, I think the Trump administration is handling Iran with real resolve, and that's the right approach. The Obama approach was based upon appeasement towards Iran. The present U.S. administration is sending a message of real strength, and that's what you have to do. You have to expand the sanctions further. You have to show tremendous support, of course, for U.S. allies in the region. Also, you have to build up as well the military presence as a warning to Iran. So I think on several fronts.
Do we do strikes against the Revolutionary Guard or the Iranian Navy?
Well, I think that, and I think the President has made this very clear, and the Secretary of State has made this clear, that if Iran strikes against U.S. forces directly, then there will be retaliation and a response.
So if Iran can't divide us from the allies in any meaningful way, what do they do next?
Well, I think that Iran's strategy as well is to appeal to European countries, especially France, Germany, and also to the European Union, also appeal to Russia and to China, to try and change U.S. strategy. And so this is also another front that the Iranians are exercising at this time. And I would hope that America's European allies will wake up to the fact that the Iran nuclear deal is dead in the water. I hope they wake up to the fact that Iran is a hostile, extremely dangerous regime.
Right.
But at the moment, you still have this appeasement mentality.
They have been completely determined to put their commercial interests first. So I mean, my question would be to you, what's happening to the Gulf states? We've heard from Saudi Arabia, voice of support. What about everybody else in the region? Yeah,
I think actually so far, U.S. allies in the Gulf have been very, very firm in their opposition to Iran. They're standing with the United States. And I expect that's going to continue. And I do believe overall the U.S. strategy is working effectively. This is a regime that is, I think, significantly weakened in many respects. It's now lashing out in an act of desperation.
What do you expect Russia to do? I mean, Russia rescued Venezuela, rescued Syria. What are they going to? Can they do anything in Iran, or is Putin going to say you're on your own?
I think where the Russians will be active, especially at the UN Security Council, they will block any resolutions condemning Iranian aggression. The Russians will continue to sell high-tech missiles, etc., to the Iranian regime. Russia views Iran as a client state. And I think that's going to continue to be the case. But I don't believe that Russia wants to have a military confrontation with the United States.